For our call to confession this morning, the scripture I'm going to quote is from John 8, verse 32. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Last week, Elder Beeler introduced us to the next phrase in the Westminster Larger Catechism regarding the ninth commandment. Recall that the ninth commandment is, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. And that phrase that was used last week, that Elder Beeler used last week, the phrase was, and from the heart, sincerely, freely, clearly, and fully, speaking the truth and only the truth in matters of judgment and justice. He encouraged us last week that our hearts must be sincere when speaking the truth. And today I'm going to discuss the next adjective, freely. We are to speak the truth freely from the heart. When our hearts are free with regard to the truth, it means that we never hesitate to speak it. We don't even consider shading it a little bit, shading the truth. We once had a pastor that borrowed our truck, and he broke out the rear window when he was using it. The first thing he said to me when he told me about it was, I will get it fixed before I return it to you. There was no quibbling. He broke it. He was going to fix it. Contrast that with when you go out to your car in a parking lot and all of a sudden you find a new dent in it. And there's nothing no note on the windshield. There's nothing that says, sorry, I did this to you. You never hear from the person that did it. Our pastor, that time when he broke our truck's window, spoke the truth, and he spoke it freely. There was never any consideration of shading the truth, of hesitating. He did not act under compulsion. He spoke the truth freely and completely. We are to speak the truth freely because truth is one of the characteristics of our God. The Bible is full of verses that point out the fact that God is truth itself. From John 14:6, I am the way, the truth, and the life, backwards to Psalm 24, 4 and 5. Show me your ways, O Lord. Lead me in your truth and teach me. By speaking the truth freely, we are showing forth the truth of God. Second, the truth shall make you free, says Jesus. It is one thing to speak the truth because you have to. That is the same as being a slave, doing something because you have to do it, because it has been ordered by someone who's in a higher position than you. When you speak the truth freely, you are giving up the right to dictate the consequences of your truth-telling. You are placing your trust in the wise providence of God to work all things after his own will. You are saying, let the chips fall where they may. Or as it would be in biblical language, you're saying, do what seems right to you. When you are that free in your heart with regard to the truth, your truth-telling becomes even more powerful. You can speak the truth to power, to those in higher authority that are in sin. We can think of John the Baptist telling King Herod that he should not have married his brother's ex-wife. We can think of those that pray outside abortion clinics, even if it means they may be subject to arrest. The scripture reference from the catechism for this phrase, freely, comes from 1 Samuel 19, where Jonathan defends David from Jonathan's father, King Saul, who wanted to kill David. Jonathan is speaking the truth to power, even if the power, which was his father in this case, even if the power doesn't want to hear it. When you are free with regard to the truth, you don't need to worry if it will affect you adversely. In the case of our pastor and the truck, it didn't matter what it was going to cost. In the case of Jonathan, it didn't matter that defending David might be a threat to his own claim to being king one day. It is the same concept as swearing to your own hurt. When you speak the truth, you do so even if it is going to hurt you, either you in your person, your reputation, or your finances. And as mentioned, speaking the truth freely is the opposite of slavery, whether that slavery is to your own passions, to your boss, or to the civil magistrate behaving sinfully. But we don't always speak the truth freely from our heart. Our hearts are never as free from the corruption of sin as they could be. Sometimes we worry that the consequences of telling the truth will be harmful, whether that is financial, reputational, or in your own person. Sometimes we think that we know better than God on how hedging the truth will be a better alternative in this particular situation, as if God is not omniscient, as if God is not all-knowing, as well as God being truth itself. Sometimes we fear what authority might say or do based on our truth-telling, or we fear the crowd that loves to tell lies. In all these ways, we can sin by not telling the truth freely from the heart. This sin of not telling the truth freely must be confessed in order to worship our great God, who is truth itself. I invite you, therefore, to confess your sin with me, kneeling if you are able, confessing these sins and your others privately, then reciting the corporate prayer printed in the bulletin.